When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Supposed to ride, standing in the station, ready to step inside. All you can see, something that you do, was red as the future was waiting for you. Train rolls in the station, you cannot make a move. Something inside you gives you heat, and then you know it's true. Is the fog lifting, or is it in your mind? You stand frozen as time unwinds. And moan, you can't reach your hand up and stop standing alone. Let them take your hand as you lift your face. Rise and take your place.
stand by.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
So hey there, folks. Welcome to Eye on the Target Radio, and if you're somewhere in the Northeast, welcome to the snowy North.
I was trying to link this show to my Facebook page because I got friends that want to listen, but I'm not smart enough to do that.
Oh, well, there you go. First commercial break will help you do it.
I just figured that Paul usually sends out a little thing, and I could just commandeer that.
You've only been doing this for years.
Right.
But,
I don't have friends, though, so they don't need to know about it.
I don't have friends.
They either know about it or they don't need to know about it. One of the two.
You're killing me. You are killing me. So, are you recovered from all the walking at SHOT Show?
Oh, yeah, I'm all good. I just can't believe this stretch of minus 6 degree weather is all.
Yeah, I don't know where all y'all are, but we're here in Ohio, and man, it has been. We came home from Vegas at sub-zero temperature. It'll warm up just enough to mess with you, and then it drops back down to
yesterday
-8.
we got up to take off. It was a -9. My truck didn't want to actually go down the road at -9. So
your truck is like, no, I'm going back to bed. I am going back to bed. Yeah, I fired my truck up, and the heated seats were like, okay, we're in.
If my truck's got a heated seat, it's because it's on fire.
That's good. So hey, let's kick off a little conversation about ammo and about corrosive ammo, because I just want folks to know that even in this shortage of ammo, when you get ammo, there is some ammo that is out in circulation that can eat your gun. And so, you know, I have to say I'm not one of those people who cleans my gun every time I shoot it, though there are some of you that have that affliction. It is not me. So you have to be very cognizant of what ammo you're feeding into your gun so that you don't take a chance on ruining it.
It's more of a problem if you're shooting a lot of military stuff from overseas.
So, and how do you know that? So in a lot of cases, you're buying boxes that are unmarked on the outside.
The easiest way to do it is
green or powder blue, or
you go on to Google and you put in the head stamp markings, and it'll just somebody on there that has nothing else to do in their life will decipher all those little X's and slots and
tell you what it is,
accent marks and everything, and tell you that it was built at Factory 13 in August of '61, and that it's corrosive and this and that and the other thing. Or there's nothing to worry about.
Or you're fine. But you need to know
some
that.
Things things are very corrosive. Some things are mildly corrosive. And some things are not at all corrosive.
Not at all
corrosive. Have to look at how that goes. And not all foreign ammo is corrosive, but it's best if you treat it that way. American military ammo, I think in 1954 was the cutoff date. Previous to that was not all corrosive. After that, I have heard they said that the M1 carbine ammo was never made corrosive in the U.S. because the way the gas piston works inside the gun, there's no way to really get in there to clean it.
Okay. So
they use non-corrosive primers from the 40s on through. But some of the foreign countries were not as scrupulous, I guess, as
so it's just always a good thing to know. And when you're buying,
and if you got it, it's as simple as hot soapy water. You don't have to have anything special. You don't have to buy anything. I mean, some Dawn dishwashing detergent. Not only will it wash your duck, but it'll also wash the barrel in your
gun.
And your M1 Grand or your.
And if you get your gun wet and hot, then you just need to dry it.
Well, a lot of times, like with the black powder guys, they'll just run as hot a water as they can get their hands in. And then when you scrub your gun in that, then that barrel will also get to where it's almost too hot to hold on to.
Right.
And as soon as you remove it from the water, then it'll dry out on its own. Sometimes, I use Murphy's oil soap in most cases because once it dries out, it leaves an oil coating, and it's one less step for a lazy person.
Well, and but there's some things that, like in a muzzleloader, that you don't want to
Teflon
introduce.
stuff is bad. Let's
Okay, bad.
If you put it in there, you have to scrub it out. There's no burning it out. So
Okay.
if you get to back in the 80s, they were selling some oil that had Teflon in it.
Uh-huh.
And that pretty much made your muzzleloader flame proof. Never.
So would not be good. So I just wanted to toss that out there because there's so many people who have so many questions on ammo. If you're buying, current ammunition from your current gun shop and they just got it through the supply chain, you don't have a worry.
Right. If you're in doubt, especially if you have access to the gun every day, just look at your gun and see if it's doing anything funny. If it just looks like it's dirty, then it's fine. If it starts to looking like it's growing a coral inside, then
if it's crusty or something, or you run a patch through it and it comes out a different color besides black.
Right. But I mean, it's the kind of thing as if you just put it away and then forget about it for 3 months, that could go bad for you. But if you in a week, if you check it a couple times and you don't see anything going on, then it's not an issue.
Then you're probably okay with it. But it just is one of those things. Now, if you're a reloader, and with the shortage of supplies, is there a chance that you're going to get your hands on?
You have to really go back in time to get to not corrosive primers. I mean, and a lot of those will come in like a round can and stuff. You'll notice that something is.
You'll know that they're extremely old before.
Most of the stuff is either paper or tin that it's in, and so it's a. Plus, they use different. It may be. I got some that are Frankfurt Arsenal number 2s and stuff like this. So they'll have a completely different numbering system, and you won't know what's what from going with the numbers
for the corrosive ammo. So otherwise,
for the corrosive primer.
So you'll be fine with that. But there's so many people who are just learning, because we still have an ammo shortage. And watching the supply chain, I am not convinced that right now we don't just have a stopgap. It's in the stores, and we're not going to get another wave.
Well, the thing is, when we were shot, I'm seeing about 5 new primer companies that are coming online.
And 2 or 3 in the United States?
Right, and there's other powder companies that have been steadily coming through. So you'll see some of these. I believe one of them is called Shooter's World. There's another that they bring it in from I think it's Australia. It's like I think Ramshot or one of those is.
So as long as the boats are landing and offloading and unloading,
right, and then
all that.
Hodgdon, it has all of they own IMR and Hodgdon powder, and they have the recipes, so they can make it. The old train cars full that they bought back in the day are long gone, but they've been newly manufacturing a lot of that stuff probably since the 80s.
Okay.
And you think about it, and they bought at the end of World War II, and they made it clear to like 1981 before they had to start
manufacturing powder. They were using, because that's one of the interesting things is people are like, you're reloading and your powder is how old? Well, since we went 40 years with J.B. Hodgson selling you
right, the same old powder. That he bought from the government at the end of the war.
Well, he was brilliant.
Well, after World War I, they just blew all that stuff up. They didn't need it, so they just got rid of it. And so at the end of World War II, Hodgson seen the opening, and he bought all of this.
He just made an offer. I wonder how much of a.
It was funny because they said that they would package this stuff. They run a little ad in the paper or in the gun magazines, and then they would package at night, and then in the morning the kids would take the shipment down to the train station and ship it off on the way to school.
On their way to school. Here, just put this fully explosive thing in your bicycle basket and don't trip, right?
But it's just it was a different time apparently today.
It really was. I wonder what the the ORD stamps and stuff had to be to ship it then.
I don't even think they bothered with that stuff.
Right. Okay.
It was like back in the old days, if you blew yourself up, it was your own fault.
Right. Now it's not. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Right.
But I mean, that's the thing is, gunpowder's changed over the years. But when they finally went to smokeless powder completely, it doesn't corrode or erode or any of that stuff. When they got away from the black powder and the less smoke stuff of the 1920s, that was probably about the end of the corrosive powder. Then the primers, they had mercury in them, and they had a couple other different things that caused basically what it does, it draws moisture into the barrel, and then
holds the moisture against the metal.
It spews out salts when it fires, and so the salts grab the moisture, and then that attracts the moisture to the metal, and so it's like soaking it in salt water.
Right. Well, and all you really have to have is a material, humidity above 45%, and so it doesn't, and oxygen. So it doesn't take much to
soap will
create
scrub
rust.
it out, and you're good to go.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about the history of the. I'll tell you that.
You want to talk about the Liberator.
The Liberator. That's it. We'll be right back.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, we're back. Last week we talked about the Liberator pistol and what it was and what was about it. And so, because Rob starts in his little rolling through stuff, and then it's like, wait, I want to know more
Well, that's
about
one thing
this.
that it's like, yeah, I read about that. I knew about it. So why wouldn't you know about it?
Okay,
So,
well, obviously I didn't know about it, but it was pretty interesting. So we looked it up.
In the 40s, we were in a huge war in the European theater, as they called it, and one of the Polish generals said that by making these cheap little pistols and throwing them out behind enemy lines, it would help out the freedom fighters with having a little gun. They come up with this plan. It took them 6 months total from the time they made the plan till they made 1 million pistols and were ready to go. They got the guide lamp system from General Motors to stamp these out. It was mostly a stamping with a couple of small turning pieces. They said that they sold for $2 a piece in 1942, which is about 33.
Well, they didn't sell for. That was their cost to manufacture.
Well, that's what the government paid for
to
them.
have them manufactured,
and
right?
That would be about $33 today, which is still very reasonable. They were
designed to hold. They're single shots, but they held a couple of bullets in the grip.
Five shots in the grip. They were shipped in a little cardboard box with a wooden rod to take the empties out of it. 10 bullets and a set of instructions that were like a cartoon, because not everyone who found one of these was going to read English.
Read English. Well, the interesting part was Inland Manufacturing did the final assembly of that gun, and the intent was to drop it where it wasn't. This gun wasn't designed to fight the war. This gun was designed for you to overcome someone else and take their.
A guy behind the line could use this to get a real rifle from one of the German soldiers.
From somebody who wasn't paying attention.
So they said it had an effective range of about 25 feet, which is about across the normal room. Ideally, they expected you to use it within the 1 to 4 foot range.
Yeah, that
so
you
they
just kind of sneak up to somebody and take their gun.
And but it shot standard 45 automatic ammo. There was no rifling in the barrel. It's got sights on it, but as to why, who knows?
Because you're supposed to be so close.
If you look it up online, they're kind of cool looking. I mean, they're called an FP45 for flare pistol. They snuck them through as a flare pistol so that it didn't draw attention to something of this that many
that they were manufacturing. So they had that. And the interesting part is that there are some in circulation in the United States, and they're selling in the $1,400 to $2,500 range, just as a collector's value.
When I was a kid, you never seen them. You heard people said they had them and stuff. I mean, I've probably seen 20 real models of them. There's another company that's had tried to make some of them.
Yeah, Vintage Ordnance made the replica of it.
They made a replica of it for a little while. It was kind of pricey also, and then too, since it doesn't have rifling and it's not a very practical piece, it didn't sell really well. So.
Right, it has more historical value than anything. I mean, it doesn't just have a value to be
right.
To go to the range with.
It's one of those kind of things, though, that when you're going through your grandpa's stuff, you could find this. It's an all-metal pistol. It almost looks like it should be something from the ray gun era of the 50s.
Right.
It's got a little, like I say, a cartoon thing showing you how to cock it and load it and all the stuff that goes with it. No words on it, just pictures of drawings. And if you have one, they're worth couple $1,000 in
right. I mean, it's pretty cool that it shoots 45 ACP. Was made up of 23 different pieces. primarily were
It
stamped.
looks like something you could imagine that a lot of people had found and thought it was a kid's toy or something and threw it in the trash.
Well, and I look at it, and about that same era, it kind of looks like the same thing that you would see the handles on like a soldering gun or any of that
Right.
kind of. It has that industrial kind of look to it. It doesn't have any of the smooth jazz stuff of a true manufactured firearm. Though this is a true manufactured firearm, it doesn't look like that. It looks
like a soldering gun or,
Yeah,
or a rivet
exactly.
gun or something
right,
like
something that you're putting together very
Like I say,
inexpensively to
back
do a
in-
job.
Back
which
in the
is-
day, there was a lot of stamped tin, like squirt guns and different things that they. We had guns that actually shot sparkles out of the end of them back in the day. Remember, when you squeezed them, they get like that friction motor would get going, and then
yeah, it would make
it's
that
almost like
whirring noise or something.
yeah, it's almost like a flint off of an old lighter would drop down and then sparks would fly out.
It's like
and
a rocket gun. It's like a rocket gun. So here, Paul pulls it up
Right,
for us.
if
So
you
there's
got
the
one,
picture of what it looks
they're
like.
quite valuable. They're by far not a target pistol or anything. I would think that they're probably safe to shoot, although if you want to blow yourself up or you blow your $2,000 up,
Right, I wouldn't take a chance on blowing my
practice.
$2,000 up. I would sell it
sell
to
it and
someone
buy
else.
a real gun.
Right, exactly. So you could buy a really good high-end gun.
It is kind of neat to see it and how it works and what they were doing.
I think the
other
neat
thing
part is
a lot of them didn't get delivered to the
Okay.
war. At the time, they were saying they thought about 250,000 of them went overseas. So some of them the English are sitting on, some of them the French are sitting on, some of them. Then they said the other group is sitting in a warehouse somewhere that the CIA is in charge
And
of.
they only built them for 3 months, June, July, and August of 1942. That was it. And so since they didn't use those up, they didn't build any more of them. I just think it's interesting, just the whole concept. I mean, right now, think about it. If we were to do something where we're in a war or an altercation, how much government red tape would it take to be able to take a firearm and throw it over enemy lines and not know where it went and not be
and be able to go
accountable
from the
to
time
every
that
single...
somebody says, we should do this, till the time that here they're ready to go is be only 6 months.
Right. I think that we have legislated ourselves and regulated ourselves out of speed to market. Because now everybody is petrified that they're going to step over the line.
You can see some of how Bill Ruger made the Mark I 22 automatic pistol. Originally, he had made these stampings for the grips, and then he put some drill parts on it and made it so it was like a hand crank drill. So those are actually quite valuable if you have a Ruger Mark drill.
Right.
And then he went to the rest of the way and made a regular 22 pistol out of the thing.
But he had to do some stuff to get some income coming back in.
Pay for his stamping.
To pay for the die sets to make the original parts. I just think the history of manufacturing, as you look at each piece and how brave somebody is to start a company and what they do, is just really amazing.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Rangemaster certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefacul and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, KRMAradio.com.
Okay, folks, we are back, and with us is our guest segment. And I have to say that I have asked a dear friend to come onto the show because there's so much stuff that is happening in his world, and we want to share it with all y'all. And so that friend is Paul Lathrop, and Paul is the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation, and he is the host and owner of the Polite Society podcast. And he is on the ownership and board of the Self-Defense Radio Network. And he, well, you'll get to see.
It looks like he's coming to you live from the deck of the...
Maybe he drives a space shuttle as part of what else he does. I don't know. So, hey, Paul, thanks for joining us on Eye on the Target Radio.
As always, it's an honor to be asked to be on your show, Amanda.
So you've got some changes that are happening in the stuff that you've been doing, and so we had gotten to where we were trying to schedule around shot stuff to get you on to talk about those changes. So why don't you tell folks what you're doing and why they wanna tune in?
Well, when I became employed by the Second Amendment Foundation, the idea was we were going to create a program, a daily news program called the Daily Bullet. We were going to go around the mainstream media to give the real news about what's going on with Second Amendment on a daily basis to the public. And what we found is we were becoming very successful at doing that, and you didn't have to go to ABC, NBC, CBS. You could just come to the Second Amendment Foundation and we could get the news out. What we found was that social media started throttling us pretty severely. Mm-hmm. So what we did was it was decided we were going to do what I started my career in Second Amendment media doing. We went around social media too. We went straight to podcasting. Mm-hmm. And so now we simply just put the podcast out, and that way people can search for it and get it without having to watch it on social media. And what has been surprising to me is we're already through podcast expanded beyond where we were in video.
There you go. So it is growing past, because the podcast listener base is already a fairly mature market if they know to find you in the first place. And so once you are on another podcast type thing to connect you, then they know to go look for you, and there you go.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're not talking. We're not the Daily Bullet is not to go to. We're not Joe Rogan. We're not a 3-hour daily show. It's a 30-minute show. We just highlight what's happening each day that affects Second Amendment rights, and so it's something you can easily consume daily. And we try not to raise your blood pressure too much. We try to highlight the good stuff that's happening, and so it's an easy one to consume. And we're go ahead.
And so I'm gonna steal a Rob Morris term. You are like a snack food of podcasts. So it's short enough that you can catch it at your lunch break. You can catch it on your way to work, on your way home from work. One of those kinds of things. Cue it up, and there you go.
If Rob Morris is a snack food, his podcasts run about 15 minutes. If he's a snack food, I'm a light lunch.
Okay, there you go. You're a dietetic salad. There. So
maybe
you have
a light size, good salad, a light vinaigrette. There we go.
There you go. So you have a whole series of different folks that come on your show, so that it's not just you, because you're looking for different input, different opinions, and different personalities all across the country, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I have a number of different people in social media that come, or in Second Amendment media, that come help me out on a daily basis. There are 8 people that in Second Amendment media that come on with me. Everybody that I've asked to join me is experienced and has been around the block many times in Second Amendment media.
Got to be careful. They'll get a reputation. They'll get a reputation if they've been around the block. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's just I find it interesting that you've done this and that you're doing it, and you typically try to hit 1, 2, 3 stories, but then you also do a show on Saturdays. And fill us in on the Saturday. So if my listeners are trying to get an understanding of what the Daily Bullet is and how they look it up, they also want to know about the Weekly Bullet and how they find it, because once they find one, they'll want to find the other.
Well, the good news is if they find the Daily Bullet, they'll get the Weekly Bullet. The Daily Bullet is Monday through Friday. The Weekly Bullet is Saturday, and that's snuck in on the same feed. What the Weekly Bullet is almost like the weekend news shows that you see on Sunday mornings. It's the week in review of what happens in Second Amendment media. And what I try to do is I try to get the bigger people in Second Amendment media, the people like Amanda Suffolk, the people like Tom Gresham, the people like the big heavy hitters to come in, and we talk about the big stories of the week, and we can explore those stories more in depth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's really good. So how is it being received in the industry? So are you getting industry people, besides the media people, are you getting industry people who want to support it or want to be involved in it or want to be on it? Or, are you getting a cold call from somebody saying, hey, dude, I got this, and you haven't asked me about it?
I haven't got any cold calls yet. However, I also haven't had anybody say no. I've had people say, I'm going to have to do some rearranging of schedules, but let me do that. and including some people when I've approached people at NSSF. Speaking of SHOT Show, when I've approached some people at NSSF, it's like, well, I might have to cut my vacation short, but let me do that and let me see if I can find a way to connect it while I'm on vacation. And so, yeah, it's people are moving schedules around so they can't appear when I've asked. Absolutely.
Oh, that is pretty good. So, where can folks find you? How do they find you? How do they look you up?
Well, if you're watching this on video right now, you can find it anywhere you watch this on video. If you're watching on OpsLens, we appear on OpsLens as well. And if you're catching a podcast, anywhere you're listening on podcast, we appear on podcast. If you're listening on live radio and you happen to listen to podcasts every once in a while, Apple iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, wherever you catch a podcast, I've made sure that you can find the podcast there. Just search for the Daily Bullet.
Okay, that is good. I was having a conversation with Gabby Franco just recently, and she was talking about her being throttled back. She had done 3 different short training videos on how to dry fire train with your pistol at home when the weather is bad, and though we know we all need to do it. And it went from like 6,000 views on the first video to less than 800 views on the third video because they had discovered that people had discovered Gabby.
Yeah, and let's face it, I am neither as good looking nor have as big of a social media is to start with as Gabby Franco does. And so, yeah, the Second Amendment Foundation, let's face it, they have some people that their job is to deal exclusively with social media. And they are having a hard time finding out how to get around social media throttling. And so when I had a discussion with them, it's like, let's just go around it. Let's, just as we're going around the big media, let's go around social media throttling. Let's just do podcasting. That's what I started doing. That's what I know. And they said, well, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, the interesting part is that if you're not watching the numbers hard, you don't know you're being throttled because it's like they call it shadow banning for a reason. The shadow is that they don't let you know that they don't let anybody else see your stuff.
Well, they could just be rude and just turn you off like they do me.
There could be that, and then there are now some people like between like Facebook and the YouTube stuff. Are you watching some of the people who are generating topic and content that had been monetized on YouTube that they just demonetized them because they don't like what they have to say?
And that really hurts. Some of these people were getting 6-figure incomes, and all of a sudden that goes to zero. Oh my goodness, what are you supposed to do? If you hadn't pre-planned, that's a huge kick in the gut.
And it really is. And, I realize the whole free market thing where it's their business and they get to decide. But when they put themselves out, take public money, say that they are a public entity doing a public service, and then they decide that they're going to stand on some social barriers and say, this can and this can't. That's where I have the hard time with it, is you either take, it's like NPR. If you take public funding, you shouldn't be allowed to do that. If you only use your own money, then sure, go right ahead. And we'll find a Rumble or another thing like that to be able to put our platform on, and then, frankly, only preach to the choir because that's where all the conservatives are going. Hey, hang on. We'll be back right after this commercial break.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seffacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, so we are back with, I'm telling you, I have had to modify my vocabulary because I was a circle back kind of person, and now when I use those two words together, it's like, oh, it is overused within the United States vocabulary.
But even that's better than the old days of gravitas when everybody used to say.
Okay, yeah.
Most of them had no idea what it meant. They just used it.
So there were other terms like
I heard
that.
Somebody else say it, so I might as well say it.
I'm going to say it, right? No, whatever it is. So, okay, well, we're back with...
God bless John Petrolino.
Yeah. We are back with Paul Lathrop, who is the Deputy Director of New Media from the Second Amendment Foundation, SAF.org. And if you're not a member of SAF, I strongly urge you to consider it. That's one of those, I'll tell you, I tell you where I vote with my dollars.
If you're one of those guys who says there ought to be a lawsuit, then you should be
you should be a member of the Second Amendment Foundation. Their life membership is $150. It is a veritable bargain. And so I am a life member of the Second Amendment Foundation. I am an endowment life member of the NRA. I vote where this is where my dollars go. I am a member of OGCA, Ohio Gun Collectors Association, Buckeye Firearms, and I have firearms legal protection as my insurance. So those are where
you can guess how you vote, huh?
I'm just saying. Yeah. We'll just say that my legislators know exactly how I vote.
If you had a truck, you'd be in Ottawa now, wouldn't you?
I have a truck, but not that kind of a truck. But yeah, there is that. There's a lot of that. So we've got Paul on here, and we're talking about. I mean, he works for the Second Amendment Foundation. The Second Amendment Foundation is truly the legal barrier between the Supreme Court and all y'all. I mean, they are the people who go knock on the door and say, I really want you to consider
this. When you're
this.
hearing there's a lawsuit in California, there's one in any one of the other 57 states, as they say. It's
right. That Second Amendment Foundation is
usually the guy who's setting that up. And if they're not setting it up, they're right there with the other guy helping him with the...
So another guy started it, and Second Amendment Foundation is like, okay, we're on that bus too. You know, what can we do to help?
Write you a couple letters and send a couple...
Right. Go ahead, Paul.
And normally what happens is the SAF will be looking for people to start the lawsuit. For example... the one I'm most familiar with how it started is the lawsuit in Illinois, where Illinois accepts people from exactly 4 states to get non-resident carry permits. And those are states where Illinois thinks they have an accurate enough background checks so they can issue out-of-state permits. Well, that kind of violates the 14th Amendment. And the SAF filed suit in federal court. Those things take a long time to go through. But first you have to have somebody in Illinois willing to file the lawsuit. And those people have to be in good standing. In other words, they can't be felons. They have to be people that are going to be able to stand up in court and have good backgrounds and all that. So Illinois State Rifle and Pistol Association has to help with the search. There's a lot of things that have to go into that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when that lawsuit was starting to boil through, I was one of the people that said I would like to help this go along, and because I go through Illinois all the time, at the time I was a trucker, I cannot get a out-of-state permit. And it turned out there was a few people that were even more qualified than me that couldn't get it, that those are the people they went to file the suit. So, but yeah, other people will join in, but SAF is the one that actually goes to the ground, looks for the people, puts them to the background check, and then gets the paperwork going.
Right, and makes sure that they will hold up in their cause and their reason and their explanation is good enough that when there's questioning and secondary questioning and all of that, it's not that there's some kind of something that's going to either embarrass the person, embarrass the organization that is trying to support it, any of those types of things, and that they have a legal reason. They call it legal standing, but they have a legal reason for why they want this to happen. That's why when they first started the Heller versus DC case, there were multiple people in there, and they all just collapsed, crumbled, and fell away before they got to where the last man standing was Dick Heller.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. How did they know to name it Heller versus DC?
It wasn't named Heller versus DC to begin with. It was court case number 5724113, whatever number, right? In the end, we gave it, right? And they rename them, like the one right now that is the Bruin versus New York
Rifle and
yeah.
Pistol Association.
Yeah, so the Bruin case wasn't Bruin.
Yeah, it started as something else, and now then it's...
And then it went to Bruin because the litigator on that side changed names.
Then when it's finally all said and done, it'll be the "We Hate You Long Time."
I think if they get to name it "We Hate You Long Time," there's a lot of those. That'd be "We Hate You Long Time 1, 2, 3, 4." Kind of like a Rambo movie, you know. It'd be all those.
Exactly.
So speaking of Bruin versus the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, what do you think is going to happen with that case?
Well, if I were to get my crystal ball out, there are two things I think could happen. What I think is most likely to happen is that shall issue is going to be the law of the land come about late June of this year. Somewhere between...
Okay, so what does that really mean? So if somebody is listening to this show who really doesn't know what this Bruin case is about, they don't really know anything about it having gone to the Supreme Court, give us the elevator pitch on what it is, what it means, and then why shall issue is going to be the thing.
What Bruin versus DC, Bruin versus New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin is New York issues carry licenses to a few people after they go through a very complicated and long and expensive licensing process. And they don't have to issue to everybody. They issue those that have just cause. And the process is so complicated, expensive, and convoluted, they've got taken to court. It's made it now to the Supreme Court. 4 arguments were held in October. And I honestly believe when this comes out, the Supreme Court is going to rule that this May issue is going to have to go away. What's going to happen then is states like New York, New Jersey, Hawaii are going to go to shall issue, but it's going to be piecemeal. They're going to go just as narrowly shall issue as they can. They'll start issuing 1 or 2, and they'll have to be taken to court to open the spigot more.
Oh, why is it that you say they're going to limit it there? Why wouldn't they just say that everybody's going to get a constitutional carry law across the country?
Because that wasn't really part of the case. I mean, but in the New York State, they didn't really ask for that. So they can only grant what they ask for to begin with.
I say the last time they were looking at it, and they said that they should look at it, and then they didn't, and then it got called back in the case this time.
So right now in New York, when they say that they may issue something, if you have a stalker or one guy has been robbed 3 or 4 times, that's not a good enough reason for them to need a firearm. Right? So if you have a stalker and that's not a good enough reason, I don't know that you could come up with a good enough reason. So hey, we're right at the top of this. We got to go. So Paul Lathrop, Second Amendment Foundation, SAF.org. Look him up.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Okay, well, we are back for hour 2 of Eye on the Target Radio, and man, there is so much stuff going on in the news, and you know, when you look at it and you're in this, you feel like that left, right, and center they are attacking our gun rights. Yet state by state, they keep
I think a lot of it
up.
is that we've been winning, and so that throws them into a
tizzy,
and so they have no other recourse but that start spinning in place and trying to bite whoever gets near them.
Got it.
So I think they call that death throws or something. It's
okay, yeah. So that death roll, the alligator death roll. So
eventually, they're going to find out that we'll get enough of these that all of a sudden every avenue that they've been attacking on is kind of closed off.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, as much as it looks discouraging right now, I mean, I've been in this since the 60s. I mean, I can remember the 68 gun control stuff and all the ratings and how everybody wanted to appease everybody. Back in the old days, we would give them something to try to
compromise.
Yep. And we finally got away from that compromise thing, which was a good thing.
Right.
When the '94 crime bill went into effect and they put the 10-year, let's revisit it. That was a big deal. I mean, it's times have changed. People see things
because
differently.
The politicians were willing to roll over, but they put in a poison pill that made it so they had to keep rolling.
After 10 years of research and data, they could show that there was no actual change one way or the other from it happening. So why go through all of that hoop jumping? And,
right.
I can see in the long run. I mean, you're seeing it now with suppressors, the short-barreled rifles, SIG braces, everything has a little spot that's a little bite here, bite there. I think in the long run, most of that stuff is going to go away. I mean, they still may regulate machine guns, but I think in the long run, the McClure-Volkmer no new machine gun thing is going to also go away.
Go away. That would
and
be.
I think
that
so you'll be able to have machine guns. You probably have to pay for your tax stamp and everything, but I think that is a. I mean, that's my Karnak hat that I have on.
We'll watch that. We'll watch that. So California had a couple different rules that went into place recently that I want to talk to you about.
And I don't see that they're going to stay. I mean, they may stay in California for a little while they're going through the courts, but I think in the long run, they're losers for them also.
Well, the first thing is that San Jose passed a two-pronged approach to this because they call it the Gun Harm Reduction Act and then the Gun Harm Reduction Fee. So everyone in every house has to pay a $25 per household fee to help them fight gun harm, as they call it.
So if you're a family of 4, then it costs you $100 to
Nope,
have
it's
a gun?
per household, not per person. So, but if you don't own guns, you have to pay $25. If you do own guns, you have to pay $25. It's not like they knock on the door and say, "Do you have guns?" Okay, you have to pay it. You don't. Nope. So every house. So it's just a new tax.
Well, if it's only $25, it's not so bad. If it's $25 per unit, that starts to get into
it's $25 per house per year. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing is that the money's going to go to a not-for-profit that they have not defined, they have not identified, they have not created, and then there's going to be some kind of management fees before it gets to them that they have not determined either.
So you just have to look at whose brother-in-law has a not-for-profit.
Well, and who's managing this? Because I think that $24.95.
Follow the money. I think is the.
So there is that. Then the second part is that every gun owner is required to carry liability insurance. So is that insurance on the guns, or is that like firearms legal protection?
But the thing is that also then leads you to registration because they won't insure something they can't guarantee
right.
is yours.
So if it is like firearms legal protection where we're protected for the use of a firearm, okay. I mean, not okay. I'm not okay with this by any means. But at that point, it's like you're insuring me. I'm saying I'm a gun owner. So that's one thing. But to then say I'm insuring these guns, I can't insure my car without them wanting to know the VIN number.
Right. The same with your boat or anything else.
They want a description. They come and look at my house before I can insure my house and make sure that it meets their criteria. So if I want to insure guns, do they have to come and inspect those guns? And then how do they know whether they've gotten them all or not? You know, what is that? Are you a super user or not?
And I've seen some of the experts, they're not really experts, so
Right.
they don't know if they're looking at a gun or a staple gun or a soldering gun or
the Liberator, right? We talked about that, right? They're not going to know any either one of those
they could
things.
use it to make biscuits on the weekend.
Right. But so this is San Jose, California. Then Oakland, so Oakland City Council. So this is a city council. Folks, if you want to make a difference in your community, get involved, and you can get involved at that level, at the city council, at the county commissioner, at the, whatever that is, at the county level. But the Oakland City Council voted Tuesday to ban the possession, sale, transfer, and manufacture of ghost guns, okay? But they didn't really define ghost guns. So what is the definition of ghost guns? Because
well, the ATF hasn't figured that out yet. They're still
so
down
how can you ban something that no one has a true legal definition of it? Does that mean it's a gun without a serial number? Does that mean that that's a gun that's got a serial number scratched off? If it's a gun without a serial number, does that mean that it's any gun manufactured before 1968?
A block of plastic that's over 1.5 inches square, or
well, that would be the pre-gun. that was something else that someone else wanted to ban, was anything that potentially could be turned into a gun. And so it too had an issue because it could also be turned into so many other things, right? Anything that we manufacture out of steel. It's kind of crazy. But the interesting part about this ghost gun ban is there's a $1,000 first violation, a $2,500 second violation, and a $5,000 third violation. It goes into effect in July of 2024. And but it also requires the sale of firearms parts to be done through a licensed firearms vendor. And so what firearms parts are we talking about? Is that scopes and grips and magazines?
But it says it doesn't require the vendors to include serial numbers on the parts.
So. But that means that you can't buy something that would bolt onto your gun online. Right now, you can only not buy parts that are serialized.
Well, that's part of that U.S. code where they tell you that you can build an AR or an AK-47 kit. You have to use a certain number of U.S.-made parts. But none of the parts are marked USA or serial numbers or anything like this.
So how do you know?
So it's your word against their word, and you have to keep your receipts and be able to prove your...
And it's on your honor, and some people don't have honor.
Right, and some people just have bad luck, and their stuff got burned up in their last car they were living in or whatever.
Or their house fire. No, we're not talking about the fact that... Yeah, never mind. We won't go into the fact that I started the house on fire one time.
But it's just, there's so many things. It's like how long do you have to keep all this paperwork? How do you go about proving what is what? And some of this stuff is fantasy. I mean, this we're seeing now that they're making more noise about the smart guns. So ghost guns weren't a big enough topic. Smart guns are starting to come back into play. They're saying, oh, well, these companies have some. They're not really showing them off, and the ones that they do show off,
and they
fire one shot or no shots or anything like this.
So they recently had a smart gun demonstration, and frankly, I'm opposed to the word smart gun because it's really not smart. It's computerized. And those of us who carry around a smartphone who knows that it's not smart, it's computerized.
Like I said, if you had a pistol like Hellboy's where the bullets were big enough, then you could dial up what you were wanting to shoot at, and then you'd have an actual smart gun at that point. So it'd be like
how would it know?
It would
right?
run out there, and the end of the bullet would open up, and the hammer would come out. Boom.
Exactly. So recently, Tom Knighton did a story that was about smart guns and how they did a demonstration of these computerized guns. And they said, I'm going to shoot 2 rounds. And then they shot 1, and they pulled the trigger. No second bang.
I hate when that happens.
Right. Well, it's really embarrassing when you're on camera. So if you're going to have a gun that you are offering to humanity as the next greatest thing to defend yourself, protect your life, and that, it needs to work.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, krmaradio.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so we are back. And so one of the things that just kind of came over the wire is the fact that there are now 6 states that have proposed campus carry this year. Remember, we're in January this year. So far, 6 states that have proposed campus carry. And that
times they are changing.
They are. Oklahoma, Kentucky, Arizona, Missouri, Florida, and New Hampshire are all talking about campus carry. There are a series of states that are all talking about constitutional carry. Ohio is one of them. What other states do we have? I know that there is one of
Nebraska was talking about it. There's some Alabama.
Is it Alabama? Yeah, it's
the Crimson Tide state, so that's Alabama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's some other. Pennsylvania has it in writing. They just aren't able to pass it.
They just don't have quite enough votes to override the governor's veto. But it really is starting to really push in that direction.
When you look at some of the stuff where they use in one description, like in common use, I think is then the sheer numbers of suppressors that people are trying to buy. So the government's saying, "Oh, well, it takes us a year to do the background check because there's so many people wanting to buy one of these." Well, in that case, that should transfer into that in common use part.
Exactly.
And,
right. So I just got a message that said that in Wisconsin, they are trying to expand their campus carry to include high schools. So if you're old enough, well, it's really kind of weird because the rules about if you're old enough to have a pistol, you can be issued a pistol for...
If your job requires it, when you're a juvenile, you can be issued a pistol by your parents or your employer.
Right.
The other part is I know that West Virginia has a special permit because they allow...
For the 18 to 21-year-olds.
I think they allow 17-year-olds to carry, and they can go... I think they have to go through some training, but I believe that at 17 they can get a permit that they're able to
You're back to
carry.
The times they are changing. I mean, look at that. So it really is...
I've seen a couple of lawsuits, too, in the past where they were trying to make it so that where they got 18 for long guns and 21 for handguns, that they were trying to get to where they could buy
at 18,
at 18 handguns and long guns, all guns together. So I don't imagine that's gone away either. I think that those lawsuits are out there. They're just we just
and
don't
they're
hear
slow
about
moving,
them.
And they're very expensive, and that's the issue.
Well, some of it is if the media doesn't really want you to know about it, they won't tell you about
they'll
it.
just slowly go through the system until all of a sudden it pops up at the Supreme Court level, and you're like, "Where'd that come from?
Where'd that come?
What is going on here? How come I didn't know about that?"
There's some questions. Some people probably pay more attention to this. Kyle Rittenhouse had a rifle that was not his rifle. It had been loaned to him by, I believe, this Dominic Black.
Because they tried to prosecute Dominic Black for giving Rittenhouse the gun.
Right. So now that this is all said and done, and Black has his rifle back, and Rittenhouse has been found not guilty for all
and
of
the
this.
charges against Black have been dropped.
Right. Now they're saying that they're going to destroy Rittenhouse's rifle and not let it be a showpiece or whatever. I don't know what the words what they were using, but anyhow, they don't want it to be celebrated. The shootings, but it doesn't seem to me as it's Rittenhouse's
rifle
thing. It belongs to Black. So now Black has to say it's okay with him or something,
not.
Or
do I give it to give it back to the court, or
what's the rifle worth? It's famous for being in this particular spot in history.
Yeah.
And so, should it actually be, if it doesn't stay in Black's custody, should it go into the National Archives as a
or does he get financially compensated?
Right.
If Black were right now the thing that if I were where Black is, I would give it on loan to one of the firearms museums, so that they'd have a big fight to try to get it back.
Right, and that way then it becomes part of America, and down the road it could either be sold as a private auction or it could stay in the in the museum. As
I mean,
it goes.
because it's not really about that rifle. It's about the fact that rifle, who was now, in effect, it's the death penalty for this rifle that was found not guilty.
Right.
So why does it get the death penalty? And then, why do you get to vilify a piece of
because
hardware?
they hate the black rifle. That's why.
Yeah,
but in reality, like the military says, this is my rifle. There's many like it, but this one is mine. This is that rifle, and it should be in a different spot than at the smelter's
discretion there, right? Exactly. It's not taking the tour bus to the smelter. Yeah, so it's an interesting thing, but even the headlines are confusing because it says the headlines of the articles, because it's very clear that people don't quite understand the complexity of this circumstance. It says Kyle Rittenhouse's rifle is to be destroyed and Dominic Black's rifle was returned. It's the same rifle.
As far as we know, that's how it should lay out. But
right. So how do you? Yeah. So Kyle Rittenhouse didn't own one. So go right ahead and destroy that figment of your imagination.
And the thing too is, like, where is rifle that Oswald used and stuff like this? So that stuff is not just trash. It is part of America.
It's part of American history. It really is. And whether you like the history or not, whether you find that piece of history abhorrent or not, I mean, would you smelt Lizzie Borden's axe?
Right, I wouldn't, but there again, I'm a different kind of a pack rat than the average.
Well, it is the history. I mean, in some cases, it's horrific history. But
I'm a totally different pack rat than the average person.
Oh, well, there is.
You know, the funny part is we listened to all the way through Trump's thing, where Tacoma, Washington, and all of these were going through undulations of people being in the town and marking off safe zones and all this stuff. Finally, now this is January 2022. That
2 years later,
the people who actually have the businesses in those areas
are
fed up with it, and they want to do something.
You need to do something about it. So when we come back after the commercial break, we'll talk a little bit more about this because, depending on where you stand, who you stand with, should the business leaders demand things of the city or not?
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand, that understood the difference between feminine and functional, a brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Okay, well, we are back. So let's continue on with this Tacoma story. So what has happened is that there's an organization called Tacoma Safe, and it's a group of businessmen, men and women, who have created an organization in response to repeated complaints from business owners about crime and lack of police response. So this organization now has the attention of the Tacoma mayor, the new police chief, and a few other notables that are in and around the community. Also, there is a discussion about a camping ban. It's not talking about a campground kind of camping ban, but about the homeless people and the homeless tent cities that have popped up all around the city. So Kathy Pick, who is the chairman of the Tacoma Tenants Organization Committee, she is fighting back, saying that everyone should focus on housing people rather than increasing the police and putting people in jail. And the business owners are saying, if they steal my car, if they break into my car, if they steal my catalytic converter.
Like the people that they hire to work in their shops, the people steal their car, they steal all their stuff. They can't get back to the car from the place of employment.
So you have to prosecute the crime.
I think in the long run, we're going to see this across the country because everything goes like a pendulum, and I think that we've allowed enough of the timeout chair thing that we need to actually get back to some real whip cracking, I think is the...
So the fact that society has a set of rules, and you need to live within those societal rules. And they have enough organizations that will house you, they will help you, they will give you counseling, they will feed you, they will take care of you, that you still need to live within some sort of societal rules.
When they talk about vigilantes and all this stuff, but I mean, that's the kind of thing there's a certain amount of things that people will allow until all of a sudden they have to take things into their own hands.
And they say, I can't take snow. I've taken all I can take. I can't take snow more. It's like they say,
back to blue, or you're going to be doing that job yourself. And do you want to be out there in the middle of the night as a neighborhood watch, making sure that your car's still there in the morning so you can go to work? Or
right, and we've seen what happened with how we vilified the neighborhood watches. And so, the whole Martin...
Well, that was the first volley, I think, that they fired at. It was where the...
Martin Zimmerman case,
right,
where
so they went after Zimmerman because Zimmerman sounds like a white name. So they found out he really wasn't. That really put the kibosh on their.
Well, they still
attack
went with it.
plan.
They said that he was. I think they said he was a mixed heritage white.
Right. So he's
How? Yeah.
white
What?
supremacist, Nazi origin, whatever they could think of.
So many things. We pick sides, they pick sides, and they vilify that.
Well, and then you get tried in the court of Facebook, so everybody knows.
Everybody's got an opinion.
Everybody got 2 cents to put into it, and then after that, and it goes through the real court, then they don't believe it anyways. So
No, because they saw it on Facebook, right? And then when the stars and the famous people get involved and they start to out you and they give you your address and they have opinions based on whatever they saw on Facebook.
Right, pretty soon they'll pull all their music off of a certain platform because you won't be able to hear it no more. It's like,
right.
Who is that really hurting?
Well, it's really funny that he was famous for rocking the free world, and he doesn't want the world to be free. But not that anybody who's less than 50 years old knows that. Just know that. And I have the other thing to say is, Mr. Neil Young, you need to look in the mirror and get yourself to a barber. Because I don't know what that is, but those sideburns went
I think
out
that
of...
is 1970.
No, those sideburns went out of favor when they named
When
General
Burnside
Burnside named the sideburn. That was the last time that they were relevant.
So around 1880, 1885, somewhere in there.
Somewhere right in there. We're just saying, get thee to the barber. You can have long hair, but it's just that. Whatever that is, it makes... Yeah. I'm just saying, makes you look like a honey badger. It's not a good look. It's so not a good look. Right? I'm not sure that you can actually find someone of the female persuasion that's going to say, oh, honey, let me pet you a little bit when you look like a honey badger.
You never know. There's a ask for every saddle, as they say.
Yeah. We'll just say. No, just overall general relationship comforts available.
This is something that really...
You're going to change subjects on me, aren't you?
Right. Well, you remember when Hunter Biden bought a gun and then his girlfriend, I think it was his ex-brother,
it was
brother's ex-wife or something.
His dead brother's wife didn't want him to have the gun.
So she took the gun and threw it away at the grocery store in the trash can or something.
Right. Well, you have to roll this whole story. So she saw that he had the gun. She didn't feel that he should have the gun. So she took the gun to the grocery store and threw it in the trash bin.
I believe that he is already, prior to this, he was a felon and had some other things, so he shouldn't have had a gun in the first place.
He shouldn't have. And so she identified that he shouldn't have a gun, but instead of doing something like legal with it, she did something illegal. And then the grocery store people were digging in the trash trying to salvage it and get it back. And there was
drama. You just gotta love drama. How come they don't make a mini-series about this stuff?
Because right now we're playing Sergeant Schultz. We know nothing, absolutely nothing.
Right. So I mean, I seen actually where they went to the gun shop and they got the 4473 form, and then they blacked all
found out that he had lied on the form.
Right. They blacked out all of the pertinent information on it before they posted it, and but now the ATF is asking a judge to order Hunter Biden gun inquiry closed. So
the ATF is going, we're going to do nothing about that. So if they negate Hunter Biden from lying on the form, how can they not be setting precedent that it's free game?
You can just write whatever you want on that form. Why bother filling out the form at all?
Right, because let me tell you, if this happens, then whatever that is, then we're talking Alan Gottlieb, and everybody's got standing.
And like I say, this is one of those baby steps towards the fact that I believe that down the road, a lot of the hoops we've been jumping through for the last 60 years are going to go away because of the fact that they have rules for thee, but not for me.
And you can't cherry pick these kind of rules. A law is a law is a law. And you can't elect. And so if the ATF, the very people who are supposed to be guarding the gate, they say, oh, here, judge, don't. It's not the prosecutor who's asking for this. It's the ATF itself. who's
Right.
asking
I mean,
for
they
this.
should be the ones that are actually indignant about the fact that all these laws are broken, and that these guys should know better, and that they should, if anything, be the ones that are living within the law.
Exactly. I am so with you on this.
How
and
does that happen?
It's just, it really is the laws for thee and the rules for me. But so this is a story we want to keep an eye on. I don't know that we'll get to hear much of it because the judge will just say something and then nobody will report on it. And standardized human beings don't. It doesn't even.
You're not worthy, I believe, is how Wayne's World says it.
Maybe it may be that I am not deemed worthy of this knowledge. It just puts frosting on my cupcake. That's all I've got to say about that. Yeah, so the Secret Service is involved in this hip deep too, and it's really funny because the Secret Service did not ask for it to be dropped. It's the ATF. So unless the ATF, the Secret Service is going to the ATF, but the Secret Service guys who were to guard Hunter Biden, who should have stopped him from getting a gun, because, hey, y'all, they got guns. You don't need one if they got them. You know, isn't that how the Richies say it right now?
Right.
Is you don't need a gun, just hire protection.
I'm sure if you work for the Chinese and the Ukrainians, you probably don't need a gun there either.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't.
Well, why wouldn't you get a gun in China? I'm sure that it's probably cheaper in China than it is here.
Oh yeah. So I don't. So many things. So okay, move on. What's your next story?
Well, we talked earlier. Here's some things about the Alabama and the
Alabama, Nebraska constitutional carry.
Well, Alabama's got an issue in the fact that there some of the sheriffs and the Sheriff's Association are partnering with the Moms Demand Action to try to keep the little guy from.
But it's not a surprise because in so many cases, in so many states, the police are against the normal everyday people having guns.
You know, the thing is, though, I know a lot of police locally, and they all got guns. They're all for guns, stuff like this. It's got to be the
high level bureaucratic
type, bureaucrat that is that makes these rules, and not the man on the street police officer who's.
Well, in Ohio, our senator, my Ohio State senator, voted against this latest bill that went through because he said the police told him that they thought it was bad. And I was like, you could have heard the top of my head like a pressure cooker before it blew up. It's because it would have been, they were against every other modification that we have passed on the concealed carry rules.
One of our listeners says that 50 years ago, Neil would have fought for Rogan's right to say what he wants to say.
Right.
And a lot of the others, too. I mean, all of these that were writing war protest songs and that.
Right, so I think they just had Joni Mitchell, too. And so, there was that.
I think now it just introduces them to a whole new audience because nobody knew who they were.
They're like, wait, somebody's getting to be relevant? Hold on, let me jump on this.
I'll Google this names. Let's see what
happens. Because if somebody's getting to be relevant, I want to be relevant. So,
right. We'll be here in Little Yellow or Taxi or something.
I don't know. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, Ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.IamTheTargetRadio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.IamTheTargetRadio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Okay, so we are back. So we were talking about constitutional carry bills. So Alabama is the one that they're struggling with right now, and Nebraska, it's probably doomed to not make it through this legislative session simply because the calendar is not sufficient, and the motivation. So the motivation and the calendar. So they really only have a 60-day 2022 session.
The best part is, though, is even like Ohio, Pennsylvania, all these that are talking about it, and they have it right on the tip of their tongue, supposedly.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's not happening this year, there's a good chance it's going to happen next year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also pushing more people into thinking that they need to look at this also. So as it goes, it's like a big fire. As it gets going, it catches more stuff on fire and pushes it
and
through.
The more it's conversations and the more things. So that's why as you look at this, you look at these things that are happening. I mean, and we're at 21 states for constitutional carry. And then we look at some of the fights that are happening in some of the other states that don't have a prayer of constitutional carry. They're just lucky if they're allowed to own a gun at all because of the restrictions and the legislation that happens there.
Right, but some of that's changing. It's every day is
well,
a
it's
new
because
day.
those people are on the ground floor fighting.
Right, so if you got some money and you want to fight, you want to get in on the fight, the CNJFO is a possible in
Coalition for New Jersey Firearms Owners.
Right, they're not just fighting for New Jersey. They're fighting for everybody. So it's a good cause. Jump in on that. They also got their truck driving.
Yeah, so we've had a guest on our show multiple times, and that would be Teresa Einacker. and Teresa Einacker, who is a New Jersey DC Project gal, and she's actually the state leader, not just a DC Project gal, but she's a big deal in her own state. She's also an attorney that's licensed to practice at the Supreme Court level, and she does firearms work, and that's her area of expertise.
Right, but there are congressmen that have been in that spot for like 10 years or something. That's got beat out by a senator.
So Senator
he got beat out by a truck driver that they call him Dangerous Durr because no one is paying him enough money to think for him yet.
Right.
So they don't know which way he's going to go.
So he has just created a coalition of firearms owners that is an advisory council. And we know 3 of the people that he put on that, and that would be Teresa Einacker. That would be Dave Rosenthal, who writes Blackwire Media, and so you can find him as Blackwire Media. And Anthony Calandro, who is Gun for Hire, Gun Shops Ranges, and he's on the board of directors of the NRA. So those 3 New Jersey folks are named on Dangerous Durr's Second Amendment advisory board, and so that is a huge step in that direction.
And then if you have a gun in your pocket and you're interested in making sure that you're covered with some possibly needing an attorney or something, check out Firearms Legal. They help us with the show here. So
well, they help us. We're both members of Firearms Legal, so firearmslegal.com. Go there, check that out. But if you have elected or selected to carry a gun, there are things about it that even if you are fully in the right and are forced to use your gun, it's an expensive proposition. And so that guidance, advice, and protection is very, very well, very much needed. Very much needed. And so that's why it's not really insurance, but it's a team of people that are all working to help you.
There's a couple things. One in Missouri, they're trying to pass some stuff for public transportation so you can defend yourself on public transportation.
Well, so let's talk about this a minute. So, you're like, well, why do you have to have a gun on a bus? Well, if your only mode of transportation, if your only mode of transportation is the bus, you want a gun with you, and so it limits your ability to defend yourself anywhere that you go because they have drawn these lines, and the lines
they say their gun-free zones do not hinder criminals. So
no.
So that's the thing. So they're hoping to pass some stuff here on that. Alaska has another thing. If they declare a state of emergency, they want to make sure that gun shops, ranges, anybody selling firearms components or accessories are not forced to close during this emergency.
And I know that there's a bunch of states that are looking at that to shut that down. So this COVID lockdown.
Also, it's got a thing about seizure of citizens' guns. So if you're during Katrina, they would take your guns from you, and
right. They would allow you, not allow you. Yeah, they would allow you to leave your home and come to wherever they were, but you had to be disarmed while you went there. And so, look at how many murders, rapes, attacks happened in that. My head wants to some kind of Superdome. The arena ball is what my head wants to call it. But look at what happened in that in there.
I don't think they thought of the words arena ball as
I'm probably not.
So.
It's probably called the Superdome. I'm just saying. Since I'm not a sports-oriented person, you can probably tell that I don't know the name.
Yeah, but it's funny how sometimes different words just pop into your head and think, well, they should have thought of those.
They should have named it arena ball, right? Because it's a ball and it's an arena. Yeah, never mind. Okay, moving on. Moving on. I thought it was funny, but I may have been the only person who thought it was funny.
The Second Amendment Foundation is teaming up and writing some briefs for they're backing some Maryland lawsuit with the Supreme Court. So that's
so this is another case.
So 25 states have joined together.
So it supports their challenge of the Maryland gun ban and urging the high court to hear the case. And so that's one of the things that an amicus brief does, is that they're trying to cause the the Supreme Court justices to say, sure, I'll hear that.
Did you ever wonder why, when you bought a gun, you got a little baggie with a fired bullet in it?
Right.
Maryland made that happen.
We love watching sports ball.
All across the country, every gun has been shipped with this empty case because Maryland needed that case for their...
And the data says that they've never solved a crime with it.
Right, and then they finally stopped bothering to have you bother to turn them in, but you still get the gun companies are still sending that
because they haven't shut them down from it. This is interesting. So see if your state is named in here, because the amicus briefs were filed by 25 state attorney generals in support of the challenge to the Maryland gun ban and urging the Supreme Court to take the case. But the states that are listed, so if your state is listed, that means you have a pro-gun attorney general in your state. Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, Virginia, and Wyoming. So, frankly, when you hear that type thing, pop an email to your attorney general and say, thank you. Tell them that you appreciate the stand, that they are helping your brothers and sisters in other states fight the fight using the weight and heft of their state, so that it all just kind of happens, and they see, because they too are motivated by voters, and so voters in their state.
I mean, judges, the senators, like you were saying, your senator had voted a certain way because they
didn't know.
They don't know, and they don't know everything. I mean, think about how much stuff you don't know about, and so the only way they got is from phone calls, letters, people that are calling in and saying, I believe we need to do it this way versus I need to do it that way. And so they go with the majority of what is the...
And if we only say bad stuff to them, we're not training them to understand. So you need to do the carrot and the stick. And so in this case, he did a good thing, so give him a carrot, right? Tell them they did a good thing, and that it matters to you, and that you're paying attention.
It needs to be a short note, too, instead of
not paragraphs.
25 pages of I hate you, I hate you,
I hate you. You did good. You did good. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.